Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit West Bengal and Assam today, inaugurating major highway projects and the new Guwahati Airport Terminal building. US Justice Department releases new trove of Epstein Files, much of the documents largely redacted. References include former President Bill Clinton. Democrats voice frustration that the release falls far short of what was mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Bill Clinton's aide says US expects answers, not scapegoats. US launches Operation Hawkeye Strike, hitting more than 70 targets in strikes against ISIS in Syria. Violence and protests continue in Bangladesh. Interim government urges citizens to resist violence. Security heightened in Dhaka. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will undertake a visit to West Bengal on 20th of December. Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone and inaugurate national highway projects at Ranaghat in Nadia district. He will also address the gathering on the occasion. Prime Minister will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of two national highway projects worth around 3,200 crore rupees. The projects will serve as a vital connecting link between Kolkata and Siliguri. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate 66.7-kilometer long four-laning of Barajaguli Krishnanagar section of NH 34 in Nadia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also undertake a visit to Assam on 20th, 21st December. On Saturday, Prime Minister Modi will undertake a walk-through and inaugurate the new terminal building of Lokapriya Gopinath Bordolai International Airport in Guwahati, marking a transformative milestone in Assam's connectivity and economic expansion and global engagement. Prime Minister Modi will also address the gathering. On the occasion, the newly completed integrated new terminal building spread over nearly 1.4 lakh square meters is designed to handle up to 1.3 crore passengers annually, supported by major upgrades to the runway, airfield systems, aprons and taxiways. The terminal sets new benchmarks in passenger convenience and digital innovation. India's first nature-themed airport terminal, the airport's design draws inspiration from Assam's biodiversity and cultural heritage under the theme Bamboo Orchids. India's winter session of Parliament concluded after 3 weeks of intense legislative activity and marathon debates. From landmark insurance and nuclear energy reforms to detailed discussions on electoral reforms and 150th anniversary of Vande Mataram, India's national song, the session witnessed high productivity in both the houses. Here are the highlights of the winter session of Parliament, the report filed by Dibendu Mondal.
The winter session of India's Parliament was held from December 1 to December 19, 2025, with both houses functioning for 15 days. This session recorded high productivity, functioning for nearly 92 hours, with a productivity rate of over 121%. Members displayed enhanced cooperation with the House, sitting beyond scheduled hours and even skipping lunch recess on multiple occasions to complete legislative business. Parliamentary engagement was reflected strongly in debates and discussions. Both houses spent over 40% of the time on deliberations, driven largely by special discussions on the 150th anniversary of the national song Vande Mataram and electoral reforms. The upper house, that is the Rajya Sabha alone, 82 members participated in a two-day discussion on Vande Mataram, and over 65 members of the Lok Sabha participated in this debate. while 57 members contributed to a three-day debate on electoral reforms from the upper house. 59 members contributed from the lower house.
इस सत्र में सभा की उत्पादकता 111% रही.
The Rajya Sabha also saw a sharp rise in zero-hour activity. An average of over 84 notices were submitted per day, a significant increase compared to previous sessions, with more than 15 matters taken up daily. Private members' business also saw strong participation, with 59 private members' bills introduced in the upper house.
The session which ended today was very productive one. I hope that in the coming sessions also we will have more fruitful debates.
ये 2025 का विंटर सेशन देश के लिए बहुत प्रोडक्टिव सेशन रहा है. नरेंद्र मोदी जी का रिफॉर्म्स एक्सप्रेस बहुत तेज़ी से आगे बढ़ा है और उसको आगे ले जाने में ये शीतकालीन सत्र बहुत बड़ा काम किया है.
On the legislative front, several key bills were passed during the session. The Sabka Bima Sabki Raksha Bill 2025, which allows 100% foreign direct investment in Indian insurance companies, was passed by both houses. Another major legislation, the Nuclear Energy Bill 2025, replaced decades-old laws governing atomic energy and nuclear liability in India. The government also introduced the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Grameen Bill 2025, proposing to replace Manrega and increase guaranteed rural employment from 100 to 125 days annually.
The winter session of Parliament has come to a close, and this winter session of 2025 is going to go down in history as one of the most productive one in the recent times, with productivity being recorded at over 100% and key legislation being passed in this particular winter session of Parliament. This time around, the Parliament session has been one of the successful ones in the recent memory. From the Parliament complex in New Delhi, this is the BND model for DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with the Dutch counterpart David Van Weel in New Delhi on Friday. Both leaders held productive discussions on India and the Netherlands' bilateral cooperation, including in trade, defense, shipping, water, agriculture, health and culture. The two leaders also discussed new opportunities in semiconductors, talent mobility and renewables. In his remarks, Dr. S. Jaishankar stated that India counts on the Netherlands' support in its negotiation with EU on free trade agreement.
We value our relations with the Netherlands enormously, bilaterally as well as a key player of the European Union. Today, as we meet, we will recognize that a number of important agreements have been reached in the last few months, which have added more dimensions to our cooperation. We also count on your support as we are moving to what I hope is a decisive phase in our negotiations with the European Union on the free trade agreement.
So from co-developing defense platforms and sharing advanced systems to aligning on supply chain resilience and energy transition projects, the Netherlands is emerging as a key European partner in India's pursuit of strategic balance and self-reliance. DD India's Jessica Taneja spoke to the Dutch Foreign Minister David Van Weel. Listen in.
Dutch Foreign Minister David Van Weel is on a visit to India. He's met with his counterpart, Dr. S. Jaishankar, the National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval. He's here with us in the national capital. Thank you for speaking to DD India. Tell us about the India-Netherlands defense engagement that we're seeing right now in terms of co-production to technology sharing. A letter of intent was exchanged. With Netherlands' shared concern in the Indo-Pacific related to certain territorial transgressions, where do you see this partnership evolving in hard security domains?
So indeed, we signed a letter of intent on the field of security and defense. It is because we share a lot of interests. We are two countries that are prone to the rules-based international order, that adhere to the freedom of passage on the high seas, which has built our nations and has made them great in trade. And those values are under pressure So naturally, we find each other as partners there. We joined your Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative. Our Deputy Chief of the Naval Staff will come to India in February to discuss the regional issues and developments, and there will be a Dutch naval ship visiting Kochi in May of 2026. So a lot of developments on the practical side, but I also visited one of your shipyards, the Mazagon shipyard, to see where all your naval vessels are built and to see if we can tighten industrial collaboration as well.
As India and EU near the finish line when it comes to the FTA negotiations, now Netherlands is a key voice within the EU. And how does it view India's insistence on balancing its strategic autonomy with open trade? And do you see any regulatory and sustainability clauses that could potentially cause concern when it comes to finalization of the free trade agreement that we're expecting soon?
So on the first issue, trade agreements, you never know when negotiations are finally through. They are very complex. We are with 27 nations in Europe, with all different economies, different interests. But I do believe they're making good progress and that we can reach the final stages on a short time. I think that we are very aligned when it comes down to balancing strategic autonomy with free trade. We adhere to free trade. We want to have free trade. At the same time, we see players in the world that are less open or less open to having a win-win situation in trade. So balancing that, making sure that we don't have single dependencies, that we diversify our supply chains is definitely an objective that both the EU and India share. And on sustainment and regulations, yes, there will be clauses in there for the benefit of the whole world, I would say, to have common standards so that we bring our sustainability to a higher level.
CBAM, or the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, has been a sticking point in the negotiations when it comes to India-EU FTA. How is the Netherlands advancing India's interest, or in particular to ensure that this issue is ironed out and the negotiations continue on track towards finalization?
So I believe that a lot of negotiations are taking place on exactly this point. And I think that the two sides have to near each other and find a compromise there. I don't know what the latest is. I'm not in the room with the trade negotiator, but I have the full confidence that they will reach a conclusion.
When it comes to the lithography machines of ASML and the abundance windmill energy that Gujarat offers, are we looking at ASML selecting Indian firms to now start manufacturing advanced chips which India needs like the rest of the world?
Well, that might be one of the outcomes of the extensive MOU that we signed. The MOU sees in different areas potential for growth of that relationship, so in the field of research and development, in the field of talent development, but we also noted the wishes of the Indian side to have more production facilities in India.
Still to come on DD India Newshour. Ukraine begins new round of talks with the US in Miami on ending conflict with Russia, with its EU allies also attending. Brazil's court rejects jail former President Jair Bolsonaro's fresh appeal against his coup conviction. And Home Alone Gingerbread House breaks world record, celebrates the 35th anniversary of the iconic movie.
Embark on a timeless journey. Unravel the mysteries of a grandiose era. A treasure trove of royal and sacred complexes, temples, shrines, pillared halls, mandapas, rock-cut memorials and more. A spectacular setting of rugged landscape and exemplary workmanship, representing the best of Dravidian architecture. every structure carved out as a unique artistic creation. A heritage landmark that reflects pure magnificence, integrated within its natural environment. An unexplored haven for nature and adventure enthusiasts. An imposing heritage reflected in its street bazaars and annual festivals of music and culture. Come, be mesmerized by the glorious capital of the Vijayanagar Empire.
Welcome back. You're watching the India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja. The US military launched large-scale strikes against more than 70 targets of Islamic State in Syria on Friday in retaliation for an attack on its personnel. A US-led coalition had already been carrying out airstrikes and ground operations in Syria, targeting Islamic State suspects in recent months, often with the involvement of Syria's security forces. Trump said in a post on his Truth Social network that US forces are inflicting very serious retaliation just as promised. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the strikes targeted ISIS fighters, infrastructure and weapon sites, and said the operation was dubbed as Operation Hawkeye Strike. On the other hand, Syria reiterated its commitment to combat Islamic State and intensify military operations against the group. Moving on. Updates next on the released new trove of Epstein Files. Well, the US Justice Department released this new trove of documents from its investigations into the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, bowing to pressure from lawmakers who forced their disclosure with the new law. The release follows months of political wrangling amid rebellion by some of President Donald Trump's staunchest supporters over his administration's reluctance to make public all records tied to probes into Epstein. Although the Justice Department added a note to the web page where it posted links to the documents that said all reasonable efforts have been made to redact victims' personal information, but warned that some could be disclosed inadvertently. A White House spokesperson praised the Trump administration following the latest release by the US Justice Department, saying that the release was a testament to transparency of the administration, before accusing Democrat politicians of involvement. On the other hand, Democratic Representative Ro Khanna of California said that the law requires all unclassified documents related to Epstein be released. Addressing journalists, Ro Khanna said that it is disappointing that they haven't been able to release these documents on time in compliance with the law. While it's clear they're trying at the very least to meet the deadline, they should have been able to do more. A spokesman for former US President Bill Clinton, responding to a series of photos released by the Justice Department showing Clinton socializing at one time with the late financier and convicted sex offender, said that this isn't about Bill Clinton and suggested the move was about shielding the White House from scrutiny. It added that the country expected more answers and not scapegoats. DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us with more on the story. Akshay, the bulk of the new documents released by the US Justice Department remain heavily redacted. Do you think this disclosure will stoke skepticism of being a high-level cover-up?
Well, absolutely. And in fact, the sort of redactment that has been done on Epstein Files is only going to highlight one thing more, that something far serious, far grave, far heinous in terms of crimes is being, is being hidden from the public. The Republican Party, especially the Trump campaign, spoke a lot about the Epstein Files, spoke about declassifying Epstein Files, releasing them for a very long time. In fact, the MAGA support base has been one of the most vocal voter base that has been asking for the release of Epstein file. But the sort of files that have come out in public are nothing short of disappointment, not only for the MAGA supporters, but also for the entire, sort of public that has been calling for the names of these people who were associated with a known sex offender to be released in public. Many a times the US government is saying that it will be a national security threat, it will be a threat to their relations with foreign countries, and so on. And all of these things are being said to sort of cover up the most heinous and the most controversial parts of the file, without which the release is rendered useless.
Okay, even so, the files shed some light on the disgraced financiers' intimate ties to the rich, famous and powerful, Trump being among them, although the release files make scant reference to Trump. Will the case turn into a political liability for Donald Trump in the days to come?
Well, it seems like it, and in fact, it has already become a political liability because had it not been for the sort of pressure that was coming in from the voters, especially of the MAGA core voter base that has been questioning the Trump administration over not releasing the files, the sort of political pressure that has been coming in from all sides, even these files wouldn't have been released. Especially this entire issue has taken a U-turn as far as the promise made by Donald Trump is concerned. However, it would be too naive to think that any substantial thing is going to come out of the release of these files, especially against the people who are ruling right now, because those are the very people who are controlling every aspect of the release of files. So it is highly, highly unlikely that they are going to release anything substantial when it comes to allegations on Donald Trump are concerned, or any kind of allegations on his allies as well.
Okay,
and it may become a political case of trying to release only those section of the files that target the opposition leader, in this case the Democrat leaders and sort of other scapegoats that will be thrown under the bus to protect the real culprits as far as who were involved in this entire racket of not just sex offenses, but also sex crimes.
Okay, we leave it here. Thank you very much, Akshay Dongre, for those details on the story. For the benefit of our viewers, let's give you this timeline about the Jeffrey Epstein's investigation and the fight to make the government files public. So it started in March 2005. The investigation opened against Epstein after a minor report sexual abuse. In May 2006, the grand jury indicted on solicitation. Then in July the same year, Epstein was arrested after indictment and FBI began its investigation. In 2007, the federal prosecutors drafted indictment and the secret no prosecution deal was offered. In June 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to state charges and he was sentenced to 18 months in prison with a work release. In 2009, Epstein was released from jail after 13 months. 2015, Virginia Gift sued his aide for defamation over trafficking claims. November 2018, Miami Herald exposed the scrutiny of the plea deal. In July 2019, Epstein was arrested again on sex trafficking charges. August 2019, Epstein died in a New York jail awaiting trial. And July 2020, federal prosecutors charged G. Maxwell with sex crimes. December 2021, Maxwell was convicted of sex trafficking and other crimes. June 2022, Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison. January 2024, the judge unsealed more records. New information was revealed. In 2025, this year, the Department of Justice said that there is no client list, and the House pushed for the full file release. And in November 2025, the Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and Trump signed it into law the next day, which implied that these files be made public. And what we saw on December 19th, the release of files, but much of the files were redacted with pages blackened. So the U.S. Justice Department will appeal the court rulings tossing out criminal cases against New York Attorney General Letitia James and former FBI Director James Comey, seeking to revive two cases against adversaries of President Donald Trump following a series of legal stumbles. U.S. District Judge Cameron McGovern Curry last month dismissed both cases on the grounds that the prosecutor who brought them, Trump ally Lindsey Halligan, was unlawfully appointed as interim U.S. Attorney for Virginia's Eastern District. Trump pressured the Justice Department to prosecute Comey and James as he called for retribution against officials who have criticized him or pursued investigations into him. Two grand juries rejected a new indictment against James on mortgage-related charges, a rare rebuke for prosecutors. A federal judge in Washington blocked prosecutors from using crucial evidence in the Comey probe without securing a new warrant, ruling that investigators had improperly seized records from a Comey lawyer and confidant. And the negotiations are continuing in Miami on ending the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukrainian negotiators held a new round of talks on a settlement to the conflict in Miami with U.S. and European teams on Friday. Ukrainian negotiator Rustem Umerov said that agreement to pursue their joint efforts were made during the talks. White House envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner also plan to meet Russian President's special envoy Kirill Dmitriev on Saturday. However, no trilateral meeting will be held during the Miami talks. So the weekend talks come as Russian President Vladimir Putin, in an annual news conference, vowed to press ahead with his military offensive in Ukraine, hailing battlefield gains nearly 4 years into the conflict. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Friday promised not to force Ukraine into any agreement to end the conflict. Talking to reporters, the U.S. Secretary of State said that he might join a portion of talks on Ukraine on Saturday, as he said that progress has been made in discussions to end the conflict, but there's still a long way to go.
Peace deal unless Ukraine agrees to it. And there can't be a peace deal, of course, unless Russia agrees to. But remember that any peace deal is one that Ukraine has to agree to, because they're a combatant. If Ukraine says we don't agree to it, there won't be peace. So our job is not to force anything on anyone. It is to try to figure out if we can nudge both sides to a common place. And guys, you know, in a conflict like this, in a war like this, that's not easy. It takes a lot of time. We're going to have some patience with it, unfortunately.
A Brazilian Supreme Court judge on Friday rejected a fresh appeal by jailed former President Jair Bolsonaro against his coup conviction. The court declared the appeal inadmissible. Judge Alexander de Moraes, who oversaw the trial against Bolsonaro, said that he did not recognize the fresh appeal, which requires 2 judges to have voted against a conviction. Only 1 of 5 judges on the Supreme Court panel voted not to convict Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro began serving a 27-year sentence in November after the country's highest court declared that he had exhausted all appeals. Brazil's Congress this week passed a law that could reduce Bolsonaro's sentence to just over 2 years. President Lula has vowed to veto the law. However, Congress has the last word and can override him. Next news from Australia. Around 1,000 surf lifesavers held a vigil on Sydney's Bondi Beach. 6 days after 2 gunmen killed 15 people and wounded dozens more at a seaside celebration of Hanukkah, the Jewish festival of lights. The Bondi Beach volunteer and professional surf lifesavers in their distinctive red and yellow uniforms lined the sand for 2 minutes of silence to honor the shooting victims. Police reopened parts of the beach since Thursday, sparking a return to one of the country's beloved landmarks after 2 shooters attacked a Hanukkah celebration at a park near the shore that killed 15 people. Public transportation workers across Bolivia staged protests on Friday to oppose a government decree that eliminates fuel subsidies, a move they say threatens their livelihoods. The demonstrations follow the government's announcement on Thursday of Decree 5503, which ends more than 2 decades of fuel subsidies. Officials said that the measure is part of a broader plan to stabilize public finances and attract foreign investment amid mounting economic pressures. Protesters formed road blockades and prevented vehicles from operating in El Alto, bringing traffic to a standstill. Meanwhile, in the city of Santa Cruz, the transport workers did not report to work. The protesters were joined by traders and merchants who said the fuel hikes were making their goods too expensive for customers. Demonstrators accused President Rodrigo Paz of betraying public trust, while transport operators demanded the immediate repeal of the decree. And very quickly, let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The municipality of Rome will introduce a €2 fee from February for tourists who want close-up access to the famous Trevi fountain as part of efforts to curb over-tourism. The landmark will remain viewable for free from a distance, but ticketed entry will limit crowding at the site, which draws about 30,000 visitors a day. A giant gingerbread house recreating the home from the popular movie Home Alone is lit up in Hollywood, breaking the record for the largest gingerbread house. The structure celebrates the 35th anniversary of the iconic movie Home Alone. A Santa Claus boat brought fireworks, gifts and holiday cheer to remote Amazon communities along the Rio Negro on Thursday. Organized by Manoa City Hall, the initiative delivers Christmas celebrations directly to indigenous and riverine families who cannot easily access the city. You're with us on DD India Newshour, still to come on the show. India's space agency ISRO to launch LVM-3 with 6.5-ton Bluebird satellite on December 24th. India's Civil Aviation Ministry directs airlines to strictly adhere to passenger facilitation norms amid widespread fog in North India. And Karnataka's GI-tagged Indi lime export to Oman showcases early gains of the SEPA agreement.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. A look at the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit West Bengal and Assam today, inaugurating major highway projects and the new Guwahati Airport terminal building. US Justice Department releases the new trove of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Documents largely redacted. References include former President Bill Clinton. Democrats voice frustration that the release falls far short of what was mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Bill Clinton's aide says US expects answers, not scapegoats. US launches Operation Hawkeye Strike, hitting dozens of ISIS targets in Syria following deadly attack on American personnel. Violence and protests continue in Bangladesh. Interim government urges citizens to resist violence. Security heightened. On to Bangladesh now. Dhaka and several other parts of the country witnessed widespread protests on Friday following the death of Sharif Osman Hadi, who succumbed to his injuries while undergoing treatment in Singapore on Thursday night. Security was tightened ahead of the repatriation of Hadi's body, which arrived in Dhaka on Friday evening. Additional personnel were deployed in the country as the funeral of Hadi will be held on Saturday. Amid high alert, security personnel keeping the vigil outside the Bangladesh High Commission here in New Delhi. And DD India correspondent from Dhaka, Naval Sangh Parmar, joins us on the phone line. Naval Sangh, seeing the kind of scenario in Bangladesh over the last 2 days, what sort of security arrangements have been made in Dhaka and elsewhere in the country, considering the funeral of the young late leader Hadi today?
By and large, security condition yesterday night was comparatively better to the previous 2 days. But there are some incidents of violence reported yesterday night and thereafter, and before that, security arrangement have been beefed up in Dhaka and other major cities of Bangladesh. Particularly the BGB border guard Bangladesh have been deployed across the Dhaka city, and there is a janaza, a funeral of late Hadi today afternoon, so there will be a security concern and a huge crowd may assemble in Parliament Street and Parliament area of Bangladesh. So the security arrangement is there. There were attacks on media and media houses and journalists, and some violence against the minority community, particularly in Mymensingh district. So, by and large, government received a very backlash from the media and international community regarding their failure to protect the lives and properties, and particularly the vulnerable section of the society. So then after, since yesterday night, the government taking a conscious and calibrated actions regarding the law and order in Dhaka and other parts of Bangladesh.
Okay, and what is the update on the probe into Osman Hadi's death?
Probe is going on. There is no official statement or briefing from the government side. Police and other law enforcement agencies are taking care of the law and order, particularly after this 2 days event, but there is no briefing regarding the probe in the Hadi's case or Hadi's murder case. Yeah.
Okay, we know that Bangladesh is currently witnessing turmoil, but how will this affect the general elections that are scheduled in February? Will these protests ongoing, one after the other, after every month something happens and there are protests, will it impact the holding of general elections in a free and fair manner?
For the free and fair election in any country, there should be it should be a participatory election, inclusive election. But the major political parties here in Bangladesh, like the Awami League and the Jatiya parties and their allies, are not sure they will participate or not, or they will allow or not. In that condition, and adding that the law and order issues that happens in last week. So it is very difficult to see whether it will be a free and fair and peaceful election in Bangladesh, as the day-by-day situation or control of the government is not. It seems that it is not there, and the lawlessness, and the fringe element as well as the fundamentalists are getting more and more free hand to propagate their ideas and views and to do what they want on the street of Dhaka. So it is very difficult to see whether it will have a free and fair election in Bangladesh.
All right, we leave it here. Thank you very much, Naval Singh Parmar, for joining us from Dhaka. Moving on, India's heavy lift rocket LVM-3 is set for a launch on December 24th, carrying AST Space Mobile's powerful Bluebird 6 satellite to low Earth orbit. The mission from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre, Sriharikota, will mark one of ISRO's most significant commercial flights of 2025. The 6.5-ton Bluebird 6 will be the heaviest satellite ever placed into low Earth orbit by LVM-3. The satellite is part of AST Space Mobile's next generation fleet, designed to create what the company describes as the world's first and only space-based cellular broadband network directly connecting to everyday smartphones. Once operational, it will support commercial and government users, enabling direct-to-device broadband coverage across priority markets. And next, some weather updates. The India Meteorological Department has issued a red alert for entire North India, warning of dense to very dense fog across several regions in northern part of the country. The weather agency said fog conditions are likely to persist for the next 2 to 3 days, raising concerns over reduced visibility, travel delays and road safety. Dense fog conditions are very likely at a few places in Bihar, isolated pockets of Jharkhand, Odisha, Gangetic West Bengal and northeastern India. So amid widespread flight disruptions causing low visibility conditions due to fog, the Civil Aviation Ministry directed airlines to strictly adhere to passenger facilitation norms to ensure safety and convenience. As per the directions, the airlines must provide timely and accurate information to passengers regarding delays, cancellations, rescheduling and diversions. The advisory further stated that for extended delays, airlines should provide meals and refreshments proportionate to the waiting time. If a flight is cancelled at short notice, airlines are required to offer either a full refund or rerouting on an alternate flight at no extra cost. Airlines have also been directed to ensure priority boarding and necessary support for persons with disabilities and passengers with medical needs. The Civil Aviation Ministry's direction came as dense fog disrupted operations at the Delhi airport, with at least 177 flights getting cancelled and over 500 flights getting delayed on Friday. More news from India. In a significant boost to agricultural exports of the country, 3 metric tons of GI-tagged Indi lime from Vijaypura district of Karnataka were exported to Oman, marking the entry of this unique citrus fruit into another global market. The shipment to Oman follows the maiden export of 3 metric tons of GI-tagged Indi lime to Dubai on 24th of August 2025. The product received an encouraging response in the UAE market, leading to subsequent exports of nearly 12 metric tons, which is 4 times the initial quantity, to Dubai. As part of the market diversification efforts, another flag off for the export of 350 kg of Indi lime to the UK was also undertaken. The successful shipment of GI-tagged Indi lime reflects the growing opportunities for Indian agri-products under the strengthened trade framework. The GI status of Indi lime, known for its distinctive aroma, high juice content and longer shelf life, has played a crucial role in positioning the fruit competitively in global markets. The world is observing International Human Solidarity Day today, highlighting unity and collective responsibility for a sustainable future. International Human Solidarity Day is observed every year on December 20th and was established by the United Nations General Assembly in 2005. The day underlines solidarity as a key value to address global challenges such as that of poverty, inequality, climate change and conflict. The theme for 2025 is Solidarity for Sustainable Development, Uniting Communities for a Shared Future. It emphasizes collective action, cooperation and shared responsibility to ensure inclusive growth, social justice and long-term global well-being. Also, the United Nations commemorates Second World Meditation Day, a 5,000-year-old Indian tradition that continues to gain global recognition. Co-group members brought together diplomats and UN officials with around 700 people taking part in the celebrations. The gathering was also addressed by many distinguished speakers, including Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who delivered the keynote address and led the audience through a guided meditation session. India has always shared its heritage and wisdom with the world and believes in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning the world is one family. It inspires Indians to keep working for betterment of people across the world. The UN resolution on meditation reaffirms India's gift to humanity and its civilizational ethos of peace and harmony. And now let's take a look at other stories making news in India. A group of dedicated youths has transformed the tough forest paths leading to Sabrimala pilgrimage site in Kerala into pathways of compassion. The youth volunteers selflessly assist the pilgrims who are elderly, exhausted or specially abled by carrying them on stretchers to safer points along the route. They are living out the belief that service to humanity is the true service to God. Local craftsmanship from Sambhal in North India's Uttar Pradesh is set to feature in Christmas decorations across homes overseas. Handcrafted decorative items made by local artisans are being exported to international markets, highlighting Sambhal's traditional skills on a global festive stage. So as the festival of Christmas approaches, South Indian city of Bengaluru is embracing the festive spirit with a massive 75-foot tall Christmas tree at a city mall. The towering installation has become a key attraction, lifting holiday moods, drawing large crowds who stop to admire the decor and enjoy the seasonal festivities. You're watching DD India Newshour. We'll be back in a bit. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us on DD India Newshour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. On to some business news now. Elon Musk's 2018 pay package from Tesla, once worth $56 billion, was restored by the Delaware Supreme Court on Friday, 2 years after a lower court struck down the compensation deal as unfathomable. The ruling overturns a decision that had prompted a furious backlash from Musk and damaged Delaware's business-friendly reputation. The court said a 2024 ruling that rescinded the pay package had been improper and inequitable to Musk. The remedy of total rescission leaves Musk uncompensated for his time and efforts over a period of 6 years. The 2018 pay package is now worth about $139 billion based on the price of Tesla's stock at the close of trading on Friday. Tesla shares were up less than 1% in after-hours trading following the ruling. The pay package was by far the largest ever until Tesla shareholders approved a new, even larger pay plan in November. China's exports of rare earth magnets rose to the second highest level on record in November, the first full month after the US and China agreed to streamline exports of the elements. China's rare earth magnet exports to the US totaled 582 metric tons in November, down 11% from the month before, but within the average range since July. Exports to Japan, embroiled in a diplomatic spat with Beijing, grew 35% to 305 metric tons, the highest this year. For the first 11 months of the year, rare earth magnet exports fell 2% on the year. US stocks rose on Friday, led by a renewed rally in artificial intelligence shares. The Nasdaq climbed 1.3% for a second straight session, extending gains from Thursday after strong earnings from chipmaker Micron Technology. Shares of other major AI-related companies, including Nvidia, also rose. Analysts said large technology stocks helped steady markets that have been volatile in recent weeks amid concerns over heavy spending on AI infrastructure. In Japan, the Bank of Japan raised interest rates to a 30-year high, lifting its main rate to 0.75% from 0.5% after inflation data showed prices remained well above its target. Despite the move, the yen fell as comments from Bank of Japan's governor left investors uncertain about future rate hikes. The International Monetary Fund Board has approved $206 million in emergency financing for Sri Lanka to help the country recover from the devastating cyclone Ditwa. Sri Lanka is facing growing economic strain after cyclone Ditwa killed more than 640 people and affected over 10% of the population. The government has announced $1.6 billion in additional spending next year for recovery, while inflation and the current account deficit are expected to rise due to supply disruptions. The IMF has also deferred the fifth review of Sri Lanka's IMF-backed program to take time to assess the cyclone's economic impact and assess the disaster's impact, with a team of experts visiting the nation in early 2026. And time now for some sporting action. First news from cricket. India's all-rounder Hardik Pandya slammed a 16-ball half-century to set up a 30-run win over South Africa in the fifth and final T20 International in Ahmedabad. The win helped the hosts clinch the five-match series 3-1. A 105-run partnership between Pandya, who hammered 63 runs off 25 balls, and Tilak Verma swept India to 231 runs for the loss of 5 wickets. In reply, South Africa started strongly thanks to 65-run knock by Quinton de Kock, but the opener's departure triggered a collapse and the Proteas ended on 201 for the loss of 8 wickets. Spinner Varun Chakravarti took 4 wickets. He returned with the 10-wicket haul in the series to be named Player of the Series. The win sealed India's 8th consecutive T20 series triumph, a streak that began in December 2023. India's doubles pair of Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty made history at the BWF World Tour Finals in China. They topped Group B and sealed a place in the semi-finals of the season-ending badminton tournament in Hangzhou city. The Indian badminton players became the first men's doubles pair from the country to qualify for the semi-finals of the prestigious tournament. They defeated two-time Olympic medalists and world number 2 pair of Aaron Chia and So Vui Yek of Malaysia 17-21, 21-18, 21-15 to confirm their place in the top 4. This was the Indian duo's 6th win in 17 meetings against their Malaysian opponents, who had knocked them out in the quarterfinals at the Paris Olympics. 3-time Grand Slam singles champion Stan Wawrinka announced that he would hang up his racket at the end of next year, bringing down the curtains on 24-year professional career of his. Wawrinka, who turns 41 in March, conquered Rafa Nadal to claim the 2014 Australian Open before he toppled Novak Djokovic twice at the 2015 French Open and 2016 US Open finals. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola dismissed speculation over his future at the club, insisting contract talks are not on the agenda. There were rumours that he would leave the club at the end of the season. Reports link Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca as a potential successor, although Maresca dismissed them earlier. Manchester City are unbeaten in their last 6 games across all competitions, and the emergence of midfielder Ryan Cherki is one of the reasons. And the 2026 Winter Olympic flame returned to the Italian mainland as part of the torch relay. The relay will cover around 12,000 kilometers, passing through 110 Italian provinces and more than 300 municipalities, with end-of-the-day celebrations in 60 cities along the route. The flame will continue its journey through the regions of Italy, arriving in Cortina. Actors and musicians brought the Christmas story to life inside Slovenia's Postunia cave on Thursday, performing a living nativity scene that recreates the birth of Jesus Christ. Take a look. So that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can download our DD India mobile app for news and updates from India and the world. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.